Good morning, everyone. Wait just a minute here and get started. Happy to take a confirmation you can hear me.
Yep, we hear you.
Yes.
Always feel like I'm speaking into the void until,
The
until
meeting is getting existential.
yeah, until proven otherwise. Shouting into the wind. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. Um, so the main thing I want to focus on is the migration, which I think we're making great progress on. But before we get to that, I just wanted to bring everyone up to date a little bit on the context for all of this, which just as a reminder, I think everybody's aware. Um, we, have not been bringing on new partners into the Aether project, into the governing board, and in fact, Intel at the end of the month is officially not a sponsor. That's not to say they're not very much involved in the project as everything you see here on the TST, but just from an official governing board, there is a change that's coming at the end of the month. And what's effectively going to happen is that the TST is going to take on a bit more strategic, let's call it strategic as opposed to technical uh, governance of the project. Um, but as part of that strategy, what we've been focused on and what I want to continue to focus on for a little while longer is the IT aspect of it. But by our next meeting, we will uh, need to start tackling some of the more strategic issues. And just when I say strategic, it's not some deep insight here. We've got limited budget. We're just trying to sustain for a period of time because we believe that the 5G, 6G, NICS-G cycle is going to come back around, and we just want to keep the lights on and active and responsive and all of those things that will keep us viable for when that happens. So it's kind of a sustain and keep the community engaged and contributing and owning the project. So that's just the high level bit. But one of the key components of that strategy that the board has set up for us and that we're in the middle of is this migration. So I wanted to get to that, but if there was anything else people wanted to talk about at the high level before we get on to today's agenda, we can do that. Well, let's jump into the key IT transition that's underway. I went ahead and proactively marked everything as done. I haven't personally verified everything, so I want to get everyone's confirmation of this. I do know the docs are done. All docs are being served from GitHub. I do know that the Jenkins jobs on the Jenkins server, the server's still there, but it's not firing off any jobs. So we're not consuming any AW resources for the jobs. Uh, we have the GitHub actions, and we have a combination of the quick start that runs on every commit, and we have a set of others that we can run periodically, but they are all manually started, so we don't run those on every commit. And some of them are bigger than GitHub can take care of, so we spin them up on Cloud Lab for now, but we could spend money if we choose to down the road to run them on GitHub as well. So that leaves the charts and the two registries. And I know I saw something from Andy, a commit this morning. You want to pipe in with where you think everything is?
Yeah, so I've been working on getting the rock and SD-RAN both migrated to GitHub Container Registry. The rock is totally done. That's been integrated in Ether on-ramp. So now everything related to the rock, if you install the latest Ether on-ramp, will get pulled from GitHub Container Registry. SD-RAN is in progress right now. I think it's all done. I'm just trying to get a final confirmation. And then I will submit a PR for the SD-RAN umbrella chart and Ether on-ramp. And at that point, the migration should be done. I know SD core is already done. So
Okay,
I
so
think
SD-RAN PR, oops, um, chart. All right, let me back up. PR for SD-RAN chart uh, is imminent.
yeah, I should have it done by end of day today.
And the done qualifier on everything else is true. It's true for Rock. It's true for SD core. So and yeah, so I think that's good. And that goes for the image registries as well.
Yes.
And so all of the Onos project images relevant to SD RAN and to Rock. Those are all done.
All of the ones that are used by one of the workflows that we have.
Used by
So
the ones.
if there's other charts or images that are used outside of the workflows, like there's so many repositories and each one is a little bit different. I haven't actually gone through and fixed all of them. I fixed the ones that are needed to get or to keep on-ramp running. So that could be a to-do for the future, go through the other ones and fix those up, but it hasn't been done.
Yeah, that when my assumption is that we're only concerned about those workflows. So yeah, um, I see Wuzhong is on. That's great. And Wuzhong, I know Andy's done a few of these, and you did the docs. So you might want to just make sure that we haven't missed anything.
Sure, yeah. I will test it at least once all the images and charts are ready. I will ask engineering team to take a look, and then yeah, I will double check it to make sure everything is working fine.
Great,
One.
great. Okay, so docs are done. I've seen evidence of that, and I was just talking about the Jenkins jobs. Um, are there any qualifiers on any of this? Any other qualifiers?
For SDN, I don't think so. So images, doc, and chart, they are the all that we need to take care of. Other than that, I think there's nothing to do.
So you may have missed the very first the charts for SD-RAN. There should be a PR by the end of the day from Andy. So it's to the extent it's complete coverage, and he hasn't missed something.
Yeah,
What,
that's
what
good.
we're
Yeah.
what we're using is there an on-ramp workflow that requires that chart and then the image, and if it does, then it's migrated. And if it doesn't, it's not migrated. Yeah, but you just having a double check would be good. So that actually kind of gets us to the next step, which is I think let's just call it by the end of the day that we are at a position that we need to make sure our users are aware of this. So we just had I forget now if it was an issue or a bug report or something where someone couldn't find something because they had an old version of OnRamp. So we're going to need to get people to update their OnRamp because OnRamp is where they'll find the references, although we can tell them where all the images and charts are in a post. So any thoughts on how we go? So there's got to be an email or a post somewhere that warns people what's about to happen. But from our own point of view, the people on the call here, if we were to temporarily, I don't want to lose it, but quiet the AWS server where all the registries are, temporarily take it offline. Let me just call it that. I'm not sure exactly how we'd go about doing that. We think it'd work, right?
Yeah, I think
Yep,
so. I think the
yep.
latest will work.
Okay, so let's just come up with an execution plan here. Um, so inform users of the change. Um, Suggest they pull latest version of on-ramp, but um, also we can also tell them. Well, we can also just point. I think just pointing them at an on-ramp configuration file is probably sufficient here. Um, or see most recent um, registry definite. Um, okay, so that's step one. Step two is, I don't know, Eric, what's the right way to do this to temporarily take the registry offline?
Hmm. Um, I suppose we could, there'd be a couple things. We could do a DNS redirect, or I mean, we could just shut it down.
If there's really no harm in, I mean, if we, assuming we preserve the ability to bring it back exactly as it was, that would probably be fine. Um, Actually, we can go ahead and take the Jenkins server. No, I'm saying, no, I'm sorry, it's the same. There's some doubling up there, so never mind. Um, just we'll take the whole server, not worry about Jenkins versus documents and so on. All right, so now I'm trying to think. We've got two different AWS servers. One hosts docs, charts, and the other one hosts Jenkins. Does that sound right?
Yes. Yeah, those are,
Okay,
yes, the
so we can
Jenkins is on
temporarily
its own
take
server, and then the
take
other
the
one has multiple services.
so for temporary
So,
take the one that's got the docs and charts. Um, I think it's well, we'll probably temporarily take the other one off too. Um, I think that one's permanent because we're done using it, but we just will call it temporary for now. How
Larry,
long should we give people on the warning? What's the safe? Anyone have any opinions?
You might think of it as tied to how hard is the conversion. How much time does it take somebody to make the necessary changes?
No, not long. I mean, first of all, they could pull the latest version of OnRamp and they'd have it. But if they had if they had built up their own environment in place of OnRamp, it's a handful of edits to pointers to the chart registry.
Larry, one thing, would it be this a good point to kind of start versioning on ramp itself? So, we can just not necessarily pull latest changes, but to kind of indicate starting what version these changes take effect or take place.
Well, we could definitely cut a new version of OnRamp. Um,
And that kind of is going to be easy to kind of indicate in the documentation or email saying, either starting using version XYZ or newer, and that should work fine. So.
yeah, so I'll go ahead and tag a new version of OnRamp. Um, and there are old versions. There's a handful of old versions there. So I'll take a new version of OnRamp. Um, The other thing I guess that needs to happen here is update docs and other old references, old links. On the wiki, for example. I don't know what all we'll find there, but I'm sure we'll find some old links somewhere.
And I suppose it's obvious, but you probably want to reset, sort these bullets. So all the AWS shutdown is the last step here, right? And I'm wondering how self-evident this is. So somebody runs and it fails, and that's going to depend a lot on the documentation, but I don't know if there's anything in the errors they get or whatnot that would guide people to.
No, I mean not necessarily. They're gonna if they're not paying it. So the other question is where to actually post information, where to actually inform users. Um, I guess I could go to
So,
whichever Slack group has the most membership.
so you could do in Slack an email, and also in the Ether on ramp repository, you can add a note on the README file at the top, so indicating these kind of highlights.
Okay, yeah.
And of course, documentation, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, this is going to take me a little while.
So it's kind of a slightly random question, but this will be kind of a Flag Day event where anybody who is using the old services would, have to do something on their own. But is there a way we could measure how many people are using the new service? I mean, just to get a measurement of community activity out of this somehow.
so from the SD core perspective, at least with the GitHub registry, we can see how many times the Helm charts or the images get pulled. So that's an easy way to see from the SD core perspective, right? I think something similar is going to happen with the SD-RAN and with the ROC when whoever user kind of pulls these new changes, there is kind of a counter there that basically tells you how many times either a chart or an image got pulled.
Yeah, so it's an easy thing for us to just track or understand. This might be an opportunity for us to just get a glimpse, a window into activity.
Yeah, so it's kind of fairly straightforward. So I don't know, Larry, if you can open the OMIC project organization. I can kind of quickly show you. Going to packages, please, the packages tab. Yeah, so for example, here the SD core, which is the fourth bullet point, that is the SD core Helm charts, the umbrella charts. So no, Larry, if you go one back, so to the right-hand side, it shows, it has been pulled like almost 2,000 times. And if you go inside, as Larry did before, so it basically shows which version was pulled how many times. So
That's already versioned.
yeah, it's basically combined for everything. And again, this is just since we moved to a GitHub registry, right? Which is not long ago. So if you can click on view and manage all versions, Larry, so we can see.
Where do you want me to click? I don't see.
Right under, yeah, there. So keep going down, please. Yeah, so it's basically 2 months ago when we moved into the charts to here GitHub registry. So that you have version 3.1.3. That's when we started. And here, it kind of gives you by version. And I think 3.1.3, 3.11, and then 3.2.0 should be basically, well, the ones that have the most pools. At the same thing, if we go, back to the packages section, then we can see basically for every image and every chart that we have and the subcharts as well. So
Yeah, good. So this data was probably on the registries, but we never went and looked at it. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I don't remember seeing numbers like this.
well, the first three numbers there is when the UPF was during development, that was kind of like created for the best build and the PFCP and best. So, and you can see the number there is all the way to, I think it's 2021 or 2022, or probably 2023 better. But then we move everything out of a GitHub and move into Docker. So the first three, those are more like historical numbers. So
Yeah. Got it.
now there is a question from Tiani
Yes,
about
yeah,
the
that's
Okudu.
let's save that one for just a minute.
Okay.
So I think let's wrap. Yeah, it's a great question. I want to talk about it. So let's just see where we are. I think we have a set of things to do. A lot of them fall on me. Eric, I will give you the signal when it's okay to do the turn the servers off.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think we're in good shape. Andy's got one more PR, and Wuzhong's going to make sure that we haven't missed anything. Let me make note of one other thing here, which is we just need to not forget to also review other infrastructure services, the ones that we have directly with LF. And the one in particular is Jira. I mean, we're just not using it. We should turn it off. I don't recall, but we should just do a quick look at those. But that's nickels and dimes compared to the other stuff that's going on.
And I guess that comprehensive list is that Google spreadsheet.
There's an Aether inventory, yeah.
Right.
Actually, here it is. So maybe I can. Here are the various services. So getting AWS out of our hair is a huge one. But then there's DNS and there's other stuff. Email's not very expensive. Meeting management we're going to need. I don't know if we need the groups, but these are all much smaller issues.
So when's yeah, so I get that they're small, but do we have a deadline for when to so I guess, and Jenkins is the bottom of the page break, $250 a month, right? You already covered that. That's an
Oh
AWS.
yeah. So the two biggest ones here is AWS and Jenkins, and both of those, let's just say this all gets done by the end of March. So those are the two big ones. Hopefully, I haven't forgotten something. Well, actually, this one will eventually go away too because we just don't have the management of the cloud accounts. So $250 a month, $100, $110. The pass-through costs are the big one though. So these are the two that will be of these quote unquote services. I don't actually see Jenkins, or I'm sorry, Jira on here. I forget how that falls out. But I mean, this just gives everyone a sense of we're using the LF's meetings. We need to keep doing that. We've got WordPress for the website. That's fine. We've got the GitHub management, obviously not a big overhead, and then we have Confluence for the wiki.
What is that groups IO, Larry? What is that for?
Which one?
The groups IO.
We have we have a set of email groups. We
Oh,
don't make a ton of use of them, so we could think about that one. But we do, in addition to the wiki, we do have some groups. So that would be the only one on that list that I would think, well, let's revisit it and decide if we really need it.
okay.
All right. Yeah, maybe the Jira is just not costing us anything. I forget, but I didn't see it on that list. Maybe it certainly falls under some category. All right, so IT migration, we're getting close. Let's get to the question about the new GitHub account, because that's a really interesting and important thing. So yeah, go ahead, Gabriel.
Yeah, so we are working as part of kind of like adding a blueprint for Okudo. So that's some work that we're doing with the Navy. That's what we kind of like, we ask Larry to create this empty repository for Okudo. So that's something that we're going to be working soon. So there is no official release from the Okudo side, or at least the first official release from Okudo is supposed to be in April. So, however, we already know that Okudo is pretty much should be pretty similar to SRS Run. Comes from SRS Run, so that's why we kind of want to have everything ready. Start CUDU, Larry. So we want to have everything ready when there is this release. So now we don't know whether the Okudo is going to be just a given source code or whether they are going to start delivering kind of like images with reasonable sizes. So for the case of SRS Run, they used to have their own container images, but those images were kind of huge, like 3 gigs or something like that. Then we kind of created another another Ether repository that Larry helped us create, where we kind of create our own container images for SRS Run that are basically optimized from the size perspective. So instead of having a 3 gig image size, I think the ones that we have is somewhere around like 600 or 800 megs. So because we needed something fairly small. So in this case of Okudo, we want to have everything ready with the expectation it's going to be pretty similar to what SRS Run is until they have an official release, and then start kind of having all the pieces together until we have the official actual release.
Thanks. That's really, really important news for the future of Ether.
Yes, so that's why we are kind of very interested in kind of trying to have this start working on this. It's not going to take that long. I mean, keeping in mind that it's fairly similar. My expectation, it should be fairly similar to SRS Run, so it shouldn't be long to have this blueprint ready. But of course, we need to test it and make sure how different or what the official release looks like.
So Tiana, you raised the issue. It caught your attention. Are you guys, I'm guessing, are working with the Kudu too?
Yeah. So we are now start our part yet, but we are plan to work with them and still getting them.
But Tiani, you guys are still working. I mean, it's Joshua, I think, is still part of the team that you guys.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Joshua is part of team who taking care of what related to the core side.
Okay. So that means that you guys are using on-ramp there
Yeah.
as part of your project. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, probably that bullet point should be part of the Ether. I mean, the on-ramp section, maybe, Larry, not necessarily just SD core.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. I'll go ahead and do that. So go ahead on your core bullet. Um, Gabriel, the issue you raised here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my headphones for some reason turned off by themselves and got disconnected. Yeah, so in general, we have been doing lots of stuff in the core, including several improvements towards the UPF. And um, at the moment, we are in the process of migrating the code base from Ubuntu 22 to Ubuntu 24. There are multiple things that are kind of like going in, this is going into multiple steps. And of course, every single change, I tested it locally, and also I checked Helm charts, everything. And that's basically when I went through the charts, I noticed that the base UPF has lots of stuff in there, like from the charts perspective. And one of the things that it has is the service monitor component. It is only in the UPF. That component is not anywhere else in either a 5G control plane or any other that are part of the umbrella SD core charts. But this service monitor as well, when we deploy a on-ramp, the AMP component, there is also this kind of service monitor. So basically, I was kind of trying to understand why do we have these kind of two different things, either one service monitor on the UPF, and then why having the AMP to kind of create this service monitor, and why not, be part of the charts themselves, or the SD core charts themselves, instead of having it on the Ether AMP side. So that's where I was trying to kind of understand to see, what is the reason for that and what we can do to kind of improve this if there is a need for a change on that.
Oh man, that you're going back in history a ways as to the why.
I mean, these decisions should have been made based on some reason, right? So I don't have
Well,
that historical
so I'm
context.
I'm going to try to reconstruct it, but there wasn't the other service monitors always available. In fact, there wasn't even the performance metrics. So monitoring data was collected from a variety of sources at one point. Everything has sort of caught up, so maybe it doesn't make any sense. But the other factor is you also have to define all the Grafana um, configuration. And
Yeah.
doing those in lockstep was maybe part of the rationale. I don't know. Andy maybe remembers because I think you were probably one that did most of that.
I was just thinking that I probably did do most of it, but it's been so long that, yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah, I mean the Grafana part, yeah, it's understandable to be on the AMP side. So what I was kind of curious is on the, why the service monitor is on the AMP side and is not part of the Helm charts themselves. But yeah, so if
Yeah, I
if
don't know
later on
I
you
don't know
remember
that we're going to
something,
be able to reconstruct the why on that one.
yeah.
If you get to the point that you want to propose an alternative, I think it would be, you know,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep going through the, cleaning up the base UPF charts because I see there is several things that are outdated, deprecated based on the latest either a Rancher or Kubernetes side. I know that at some point we need to kind of move to a newer version of Rancher, and there are things that are deprecated, and if I enable some of those things, basically things get broken. So that's what I was kind of doing, going through the best UPF charts, kind of doing some cleanup. But that's when I found out this service monitor, and I was trying to have a better understanding of what exactly is happening and what would be the most appropriate, or which should be the most appropriate way to place to have them. So yeah, it's more from that side.
So Gabriel, if you want to converse more about this on Slack,
Sure.
maybe you can point me towards some details that'll jog my
Okay.
memory.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So let's sync up offline then, Andy. Thank you.
all right. Any other topics.
Yeah, so again, we kind of had one official kind of release from the SD core side perspective, adding lots of multiple changes that have happened in the last several months. And the next step that we have for this is enable the multi DNN capability as part of the IMS support. The iOS MCM team had the PRs open for a CMAP, Web Console, and PCF. That basically gives support for the DNN, multi-DNN. But last time that I think it's Anesh, the member from the new TST member from iOS MCM team, he mentioned that they also have a couple more PRs for IMS support. So I was wondering, I don't see him today, but it would be good to have all of that kind of like as part of the core. And then we can make another full release kind of for the IMS support.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thanks everybody, and watch for notice that I will find a way to get to our users about the changes.
So how long are we going to wait until we take these services offline?
Well, back up here. I got to get the notices out.
Mm-hmm.
I might do that even if the docs aren't 100%. The docs I don't think are going to really technically affect anything, but I will figure out the right combination of Slack and email to let people know what's in the works. And I don't know. What is the day? Tuesday, sort of roughly by the end of the week. So maybe we'll turn things off on Monday. Does that sound okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also roughly the first of the month. So I'll look at the calendar and maybe pick a slightly different day, but roughly then.
Yeah, worst case is going to happen is people's going to start complaining and in Slack, and then we can just point them to kind of pull the latest changes. So we don't necessarily need to wait a long time to kind of have those services offline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, bye everyone.
Bye.
Well,